And it looks like the bloodletting is going to continue, folks. Yesterday in my primary live trade brief, good 2-hour live trading session yesterday morning from 9 to 11 with my Top Gun Options traders, I talked about how I really needed to see another day before I believed the all clear was sounded. And it looks like I'm right here. Whenever you have a gap move down like we did on Monday, you know, Dow down 260 points, I want to see the market at least capture half of the gap down and then see what happens. So we captured half of the gap down, and we got most of that back on Tuesday, and now we're going to see if that recapture is actually going to hold. So anybody who saw yesterday's market action as an all clear to get in is probably not going to have a pleasant day today. Gold's actually up pre-market, which is interesting, but the futures are indicating down, and also based on not good news. Caterpillar weak, getting downgraded by Macquarie and a couple other folks. CSX, so we're seeing weakness out of heavy machinery and rail, but also just as importantly, folks, Bank of America. Now, this goes to my Friday market wrap-up and also what I covered in yesterday's live trade brief about J.P. Morgan and Wells Fargo. J.P. Morgan and Wells Fargo on Friday, they kind of beat with their numbers, but they beat for, Mr. Potter and Bedford Fall reasons, cost-cutting. Their loans, their mortgage originations sucked. Bank of America, same thing. Now, their investment banking and their trading revenues doing well. But their mortgage origination, their net income margins kind of fell through the floor there. So we're not seeing growth in mortgage originations. We're not seeing growth in lending to small businesses. We're not seeing growth in areas where we would smile if we saw growth. So this isn't good. However, even though the market's indicating down and Bank of America's down, quack, 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 remember what I've been saying. Good news is bad news, and bad news is good news. So this bad news, and I'm going to say for the past 3 or 4 months. So for the past 3 or 4 months, bad news has been treated as good news. Why? Because the economy and the markets are completely disconnected. They're not even on the same planet. Because when we hear this steady drumbeat, whether it's retail sales, unemployment, consumer confidence, as bad, the drunks in the market rejoice and say, well, that just means that Uncle Ben's going to have to hover in his helicopter more and dump liquidity into the market, and the market continues to rally. Well, starting to feel a little bit of shaking in my knees here that a storm's a-coming, that I think the market's finally maybe sort of kind of waking up. The drunks are waking up to, even though the bartender said this party's going to keep going and I'll keep serving you, I think the mark in the back of its mind is starting to go, we're pretty drunk here, folks, and this is going to end poorly. This hangover is going to suck. So are we getting to the point now where bad news is bad news and the market's going to treat it as such? It's going to be interesting to see. As I said, gold's up pre-market. This is the mother of all ironies. Central banks from Japan to overseas in Europe to obviously the Bernac here in America, by printing the hell out of fake money, they're also kicking themselves in the teeth because of what they're doing to gold. Because they sit on a ginormous amount of gold, right? So central banks, central banks are among the biggest loser because they own 19% of all the gold mined. And what's the U.S. dollar based on, folks? What's it based on now? The full faith and credit of the United States government. And forgive me if I don't kind of chuckle at the end of that sentence, because I don't have full faith in our government, in the credit and the backing of our government. Absolutely not. So I think, folks, that the tide is going to be turning a little bit with gold. And same thing, what's going on over in Japan with Abenomics. You know, we got our Bernacisms, we got our, and now that Abe and his central bank is printing money out of the back of their Toyotas, we're having a currency war go on. So when currency is worth nothing, folks, where do you think people are going to go? So while gold's getting its proverbial teeth kicked in right now, is that going to be forever? It's obviously had a good run, but I got to tell you, And I told my traders this yesterday in our live trading session, nobody rings a bell at the top of the market and nobody rings a bell at the bottom of the market. Nobody sounded a horn yesterday or the day before or today that said, all right, selling's over with on gold, everybody back into the pool. It doesn't happen. And it's a fool's errand to try and pick a top or a bottom in anything. However, if your knees are kind of hurting a little bit or the hair on the back of your neck starting to stand up like, you know what, I think maybe kind of sort of, well, then you might be probably right. I am starting to get bullish again on gold around these levels just because it's so oversold and just because I have been doing a lot of reading about whether it's over in India, a bunch of, Sri Lanka, a bunch of these countries overseas are like looking around going, seriously, gold's this low? And now they're starting to jump in and start getting on board for the big win. So I'm going to cautiously take a look at gold. I did yesterday. I put a long-term diagonal on gold in our primary live trade brief model portfolio, and I might look to add to that position as well. Just put out a primary trade alert on China. Very, very long-term bullish on China. You have to be. They own us. They're the largest foreign holder of U.S. debt, treasuries. They could take over our country without firing a shot by dumping their treasuries. They're hacking into anything and everything that we own, from the Department of Defense and plans of the F-22 and the F-35, the Joint Strike Fighter. They're hacking into our companies, stealing corporate secrets, and they're also trading off of that information. What are we going to do? Charge China with insider trading? Let's go try and arrest them. So very long-term bullish on China, short-term bearish. Sunday night, horrible news out of China with GDP, fixed asset, and industrial production, and retail sales were flat. But these three were shocking. Also, the past couple days, a former heavy has come out and said, you guys wouldn't believe how much local debt problems we have. Local debt's out of control. Moody's and Fitch have kicked China in the gut and lowered their ratings, sovereign over their local debt risks. And this guy, he's like, you're not even close. I mean, Fitch is saying about 13 trillion. We're about 20 trillion in local debt. And this guy, it could have his head cut off or be thrown into prison. So maybe these numbers are even worse. So short-term bearish on China. I just put on a bearish double vertical on the FXI and just blasted that out via email, video, and text alert to my Top Gun Options traders. If you want to know what we're doing in any of our services, you can hover over services. If you just want to take a look at our trade alert service, you can go to trade alerts and you can take a look at that trade alert that I just sent out to all of my traders. Again, I send them out via email, text, and I shoot a video, and you can take a trial of our trade alert service for the next 2 weeks. Get a look at that bearish double vertical on the FXI. You can take a look at that for 2 weeks. We put out a couple trades each week in primary. We also have intermediate and advanced trade alerts for folks who are a little more savvy with options and know what they're doing. Or, as most Top Gun Options traders do, they do a test flight into both of those trade alert services for 2 weeks right there. However, if you enjoy live trading, if you can, even if you can't attend, you can still watch the replay. Everything's recorded, archived, sent out to you. And as I'm doing a live trading session, I actually send out the alerts that I'm talking about. So if you're not there live, you still get the trades that I'm putting on. Take a look at this. A 14-day trial into everything I do in primary, from the trade alerts to my live trading services. Or you can take a look at intermediate and advanced. Or, as I said, as most traders do, for 2 weeks, they give it a test flight into everything, the trade alerts and the live trading services. It's 4 hours of live trading a week. So for this insanely low price, which isn't even going to cover my dinner tonight, for the next 2 weeks, you can get 8 hours of live trading and approximately 5 to maybe 10 actionable trades that we're going to add to our model portfolios and manage, send out via text, SMS. Anytime we add a new one, update an existing one, you're kept fully in the loop. So give it a test flight, folks, because this market is absolutely nuts right now. And if you're thinking with your old thinking, you're going to get obliterated, okay? Yes, I did make that word up, obliterated, okay? Now is not the time to be trading solo, alone and unafraid, out on the tip of the spear, because you're going to get killed. Okay, so stop by Top Gun Options, give us a test flight. I'm going to get ready to trade the market here. Going to be an interesting day today. The future's not looking good. Everything's looking red. I feel fine, though, because I have a lot of hedges in my portfolios. I have hedges on with volatility via the VIX and also on the broader market via SH and SDS, Sierra Delta Sierra. So if your portfolio is going to be red today, some of my portfolio is going to be red today, but the other half is going to be green. If you don't have any green in your portfolio today and you're seeing a lot of red, you're doing it wrong. No offense, you're doing it wrong. So stop by Top Gun Options and check out how we do things in the combative trading. Okay, happy hunting. Make sure you hedge, and I'll be back with tomorrow's SITREP. See ya.